Thank you, member. Recognized member from Vancouver-Fairview.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It's been 10 years since Bill C-45, the West Ray Bill, was passed. And with respect to the member from Boundary Similkameen, this motion is not about whether or not we have an inquiry. This motion is about whether we prosecute effectively and put in place the policies and mechanisms needed to prosecute effectively the law of the land with respect to workplace deaths and injuries. 2007, Amarjit Kaur Bal, Sarabjit Kaur Sidhu, Sukhwinder Kaur Punya, 3 women killed on their way to work in a van that was overloaded that flipped on the highway, 3 women who will never again be with their families. 2008, a mushroom farm, enclosed space, Ut Tran, Jimmy Chan, and Ham Pham, 3 workers who will never see their families again. The coroner's lawyer, Honourable Speaker, said that the deaths and the injuries might have been averted if the workers had known the risk and if the company had put in place proper safety procedures. 2012, Robert Lugie Jr. and Carl Charlie at Babine Forest Products. Shortly afterward, at Lakeland Mills, Alan Little and Glenn Roche. In the days before the explosion, workers had raised concerns about the level and accumulation of sawdust and the fact that cleanup workers had been diverted to production. The member from Prince George Mackenzie would have us believe that things are fine, that the government is taking action to ensure that WorkSafe BC and other measures are taken to address hazards at work. Honourable Speaker, the fact is that things are not fine. Almost half of the mills that were checked by WorkSafe BC recently failed an audit to do with the accumulation of explosive dust. In 2011, 17,160 workers suffered serious injuries or died on the job. 2 years ago, a worker fell to his death after the employer failed to provide safety instruction, training, or supervision. What happened in that case, Honourable Speaker? The employer was fined the grand total of $3,250. Is that what a worker's life is worth in BC? If people were dying through negligence in car accidents on the highways, the public outcry and demand for government and to take action to ensure that these cases were properly charged and prosecuted would be deafening. And yet, in the case of workers, it's treated as a cost of doing business. Honourable Speaker, it's not just the law that needs to be enforced. We need to look at the background. Beginning in 2002, under this Liberal government, there was a move to deregulate the Workers' Compensation Board regulations, to remove 1/3 of the regulations, remove the words must, shall, and will, because they sounded like red tape, and let employers move toward a new form of health and safety action, performance-based as opposed to prescriptive. Honourable Speaker, it clearly hasn't worked. Among the regulations changed were first aid regs, and it was the changes in those regs that were cited in the death of a faller a number of years ago. In 2012, there's been a 40% drop in administrative penalties and fewer inspection hours. Whenever there is a serious accident or a tragic loss of life, and the WCB undertakes a strategic industry enforcement initiative, it finds large numbers of employers who simply are not complying, whether it's mills in the wake of the explosions that aren't addressing dust, whether it's gas stations that aren't taking measures for workers working alone, or whether it's farm worker contractors who aren't keeping their vehicles safe. Honourable Speaker, it's time for the government to take action to support the law. This motion does that. Sympathy is not good enough. It is not good enough to treat workers' lives as a cost of doing business. If employers do that, if employers don't take the measures necessary to protect workers' health and safety, to ensure that they can return home safe and sound at the end of the day, then the government and every member of this legislature needs to support this motion to ensure that the law is upheld. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.